Hello, lovely folks of YouTube. Ren here. So I wanted to talk about my channel in general. Some of you who followed me for a long time may notice that I tend to put up a video about once a week, usually on Wednesdays. I set a schedule for myself a while ago, and I've managed to keep to it surprisingly well. But with winter coming on, that's probably going to change. Because I have a garden focused channel, it's really hard to make content in the winter. Last year I made some videos about just beginner witchcraft stuff. I don't really feel called to do that this year, so instead I'm probably going to move down to every other week putting up a video. I haven't quite figured out what it is that I'm going to do. I will continue to do the garden tours every month, even in the wintertime, because it is worthwhile to see what a garden looks like in the wintertime too. I feel like, sorry, I know I'm very distracted. There's a lot of birds going for my pond over here right now, and I'm watching them, and I'm really excited to see it. So, but anyway, yes, there's still a lot going on in the wintertime. You know, even when things are dormant, things look interesting. There's a lot of winter interest in my garden. And I also think it's worthwhile to see what a garden looks like when it's dormant, so that people, you know, get an idea of what things look like when, you know, when things are less than ideal. And believe me, my garden is often less than ideal. But yeah. The other reason that I won't be filming as much is more personal. There's, for some time now, there's been an extended health issue with one of my family members, and you know, they're doing well. They're doing as well as can be, but you know, I'm trying to spend more time with my family to support them, and unfortunately that means regularly traveling out to Chicago where my family is, and that's not an easy thing to do. You know, it's not like a quick, you know, oh well, I'll just head over there for the weekend kind of thing. Like, you know, it's an all-day transit affair to get out there and an all-day transit affair to get back, and that's assuming I'm flying. If I were to drive, it'd be 2 days. So yes, I have to basically carve out a block of time to be able to visit them, and that doesn't always leave a lot of time for the other things that I like or want to do. You know, I'm going to be visiting them in 2 weeks, and literally I'm going to be working a bunch of shifts the day before I leave. I get on the plane, I spend maybe 3 days with my family, and then I get back on the plane and then have to go right back to work the very next day. My flight gets in at like 10 p.m. and I'm going to get maybe 5 or 6 hours of sleep and then have to go into work. And it sucks, but that's how it is. And that obviously doesn't leave a lot of time for filming a YouTube video in there either. So obviously, you probably won't see a video that week, which at the time that you see this video will be the following week. So, yeah. But, yeah, I just wanted to let y'all know and give you an update on that. So some of you may be curious, okay, well, if you're not gardening in the wintertime, what exactly are you doing? I do a lot of other things. I don't necessarily know that I'm going to be doing a lot of YouTube videos on them, because obviously I try to keep my channel focused primarily on garden related content. That's what y'all are here for. But yeah, I fill my time in a lot of other ways. It's not just work, sleep, garden. One of the things I do in a lot of my free time is studying, believe it or not. Yes. I'm not in school. A lot of the studying is just independent studies, usually witchcraft related, just, you know, traveling down a rabbit hole and seeing where it takes me. Lately, I have actually been able to align one of the rabbit holes I've been going down with one of my homework pieces for Blue Star, because yes, I do have homework. Move this down here, distracting. I do have homework. I'm working towards my initiation in the Blue Star Coven that I am not quite a member of. I'm a member of the Grove. I'll be a member of the Coven when I'm initiated. I'm very close. I'm nearly done with my neophyte. Yesterday was my year and a day as a neophyte, so I've met the time requirement. I have a few homework assignments left to work on, which I'm working on at my own pace. My pace tends to be frantic and hurried compared to some other people's paces, but I'm working at my own pace, at a pace that feels comfortable to me. But yeah, lately I've been traveling down the rabbit hole of investigating music and musical instruments that were used in magical rituals, magical religious rituals, particularly with a focus on Greek and Roman magical religious rituals. So rituals of Dionysus, rituals of Cybele, Demeter and Persephone, the Eleusinian mysteries, those sorts of things. There were musical instruments that were involved in that. Hecatean worship had instruments like the eunks, which is where we get our name, our word jinx comes from that. So really cool rabbit hole to be traveling down. And the fact that I get to incorporate that into my Blue Star studies as well has been really fun, because music and dance is one of the paths of power in Blue Star. So yes, a lot of studying, not always tied in with Blue Star stuff. Sometimes it's just because I like to know things, I get that little hook, something piques my interest, and I gotta just be dragged along with it and figure out until I basically get bored of it. So yeah, that's one thing that I do. And that doesn't always necessarily entail reading books, it can be reading actual, educational articles, Google Scholar is a great resource, academia.net. Anyway, academia, I have an account on Academia. I will regularly get articles through them. Yeah, you can find a lot of cool stuff out there, and it's not necessarily, it's not something you have to buy, it's just there. It does take a higher level of fortitude to get through some of those articles, but yeah, there's some really cool stuff to be gleaned out of there. So that's one thing I'm doing a lot during my free time. I do a lot of work with fiber arts, Minerva was the first god that kind of let me on this path, and I do a lot of stuff with fiber arts. I always have. I was taught to crochet when I was young by my grandmother. I was taught to embroider by that same grandmother. I picked up knitting on my own later on. So I do all three of those. In fact, I have one of my knitting projects that I'm working on right now. I'm making a cowl for my youngest. It is inside out currently because that's how it gets knit. It's also upside down, obviously. But yeah, this one is nearly done. I'll probably be done in the next day or two. And that's because I'm working at a fairly leisurely pace. I like to listen to things while I am knitting, so sometimes I'll listen to podcasts or YouTube videos or just music or, something that takes up a lot of my time. I've actually been lately listening to a lot of the RPG horror stories on YouTube because I'm a sucker for drama, interpersonal drama, and I'm a sucker for D&D, and this is basically combining the two, and it's delicious. It's delicious. So yes, I've been doing a lot of that. I really enjoy spending time in my kitchen. A lot of people call themselves a kitchen witch. I don't necessarily call myself a kitchen witch because, it's not the primary focus of my craft, but I do a lot of witchery in the kitchen. I do a lot of cooking, I do a lot of baking. That tends to ramp up more in the wintertime, just mainly because in the summertime, I don't want to spend a lot of time over the stove. Blech. In the wintertime, I'm happy to spend a lot of time over the stove and also baking something at the same time. I'm making a lot of soups, and if I'm going to make soup, I'm going to make homemade bread to go with it. So, I've been doing a lot of that lately. The project for the past month, which I'm finally done with, is to get all those apples harvested and processed in some way so that they can be canned. I made apple butter, I made blackberry apple jam, I made rosehip and apple jam, I made caramel apple jam. It was a lot. It was a lot of stuff. So, yeah, that was a lot. And now, of course, coming up, we're going into pumpkin and cranberry season, so I got to get my hands on some fresh cranberries, make cranberry bed, and yeah, I have a lot of stuff I want to do. I like baking. I love it. I'm very food driven, being Italian and all, so I do a lot of that. Another thing I've been doing a lot more of now that I can't spend as much time outside, or it's, not as nice outside. Rainy days are perfect for this. I do soap making. Just something I do casually, mostly for my own personal use. I have sold soap, but not commercially. I've sold it to my coworkers as a fundraiser for one of the things at work. So, yeah, and it was very popular. I sold about 80% of the soap that I made. And I'll probably be doing it again this year, because we usually do that around Thanksgiving time. We do that fundraiser, so that's another thing that I do. The most recent soap that I made was actually one that I made for myself for when I come in out of the garden. It's I'll have to test it out once it's cured, but it's a soap with a lot of like antibacterial essential oils in it, like rosemary and tea tree and things like that. So a little bit of spearmint in it, and I put poppy seeds in it as an exfoliant to help kind of scrub some of the dirt off of your hands when you come in off the garden. So I'll have to give that a whirl and see if it actually is working as I expect it. It should. What day is it today? It should be about done now, so I might test it out later today. I'm thinking about it. And then finally, I read books like crazy. I read books like crazy. Any of you who followed me on Instagram have seen, my book stack, which I post occasionally, if you've seen my YouTube, you've seen my bookshelf. What's on the bookshelf is just what I've read. I sometimes have to move books off of the bookshelf because I no longer have room on my bookshelf for all the things I've read. I actually now have a box of all the B grade books that didn't quite make the cut to be on my bookshelf now. So yeah, I do a lot of reading, and yeah. If you are interested in seeing what I'm reading, if you want to kind of low-key stalk me, I do have an account on Goodreads. You can find the account via the email address that is attached to this YouTube. That is the email address that I used for my Goodreads account. So if you ever are curious to see what all I have read, or what I am currently reading, it's actually not a complete list of everything I've read, because I started cataloging all the books that I had read and kind of gave up about 2/3 of the way through because of so much. So I'm sure I'm missing a lot of the books I actually have read on there. And this is just witchcraft related books. I haven't even logged any of the actual fiction, sci-fi, fantasy, fun books that I've read in the past. So, but anyway, yeah, that's what I'm doing. So, anyway, this is more of a rambling sort of vlog kind of style entry here, which I haven't done in a while, honestly. I used to do a lot of them, but I haven't done one of those in a while. But what can I say? I've actually had things to post about. I kind of found my groove for a while there. And, yeah. Anyway, if you have anything that you would like me to make a video on, you are welcome to post a comment below and request it. I may or may not, make it. It depends on, because I do this for fun. If it sounds like fun, then yeah, I'll make it. And if it sounds like a lot of work, I probably won't. I'm just gonna be honest. If it's something that requires me to deep clean my kitchen beforehand, it might not happen. I'm just, being honest. But yeah, if there's something you want to see, or you want me to if you have a question you want me to answer, you can post a comment here. You can always hit me up on Instagram. I do have my Instagram account, which again is in the about page on this YouTube if you're curious, and I post there when I feel like it. Social media is not really my thing, which is weird coming from me. Yes, I know I'm posting on YouTube and talking about how I don't really do social media. Hypocrisy. But I don't like posting things on most of these things. I don't know. My brain is weird. It feels very weird about it. The whole having to come up with an idea all the time. I'm fine with this because I had a plan and I laid out a whole layout of what I was going to do, and I have plans going forward for a couple years in the future. But just a spur of the moment Instagram, I'm always So anyway, but that's all I have. I'm done rambling. So I hope this video finds you well, and I will see you again soon.